Welcome to the Caching Couples game. We have 5 and the Geofogies, Michael and Lynn and Tom and Mary. Thanks for joining us. If you can just introduce yourselves and tell us a bit about maybe your statistics, how many hides you have, how many finds you have. You guys can go first.
I defer.
Well, Lynn and Michael of the Geofogies, we have 21,000 some hide finds and 79 or 80 hides.
We travel a lot and to sightsee. And while we're traveling to sightsee, of course, if you're a geocacher, you're going to geocache. So we've found geocaches in 48 countries. Wow. And 48 states. And looking to do more. We'd love to try.
Tom and Mary, do you guys want to go next?
Sure. So Tom Eagle 55, it's Tom and Mary, and we have 7,249 finds at the moment, and we own 105 hides. Been caching since 2009, and we get accused of cache cheating because sometimes we go our separate ways, but that's usually because I'll be out on a business trip, and so I'll have to find something while I'm out there.
And I don't want to not cache while he's gone.
So she caches it too. So yeah.
Understand that? Great. Thank you.
Well, we've not had that problem because up until this 4 or 5 days ago, we had one GPS, but now we just got smartphones. So I don't think it's going to be a problem, but
yeah, you might need to take some tips from how they handle it.
Also, we're retired, so we don't have business trips, and we're always together for caching.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to get started with the game. We're going to have the husbands leave the room, and the wives are going to stay in the room, and they're going to answer 2 questions. Your sheet turned to a blank page, and I'm going to ask you another question. As a couple, what is your favorite caching season? Great. All right, first question. Who clearly makes the majority of finds while caching? And you guys are going to write down the answer of what you think your husband will respond. All right. Lynn, we'll start with you. What was your answer?
I'm going to say 50-50. Oops, I showed her. Because there is no clearly one or the other of us who finds it. So 50-50 has to be it. Some days I find the first 6, and he says, "You're finding all the caches today." And then he finds the next 8. It's, yeah, it's not clearly one or the other.
And maybe is it sometimes based on what type of hide it is? Or?
Yeah, I'm probably better at tree hides, especially evergreen hides. He always says I'm better at tree hides. But he'll stick to it more. He's more persistent, so he's better at caches that require poking into corners, again, going back and doing it again and again. I'm not so good at that.
All right, and Mary, what was your answer?
Well, based on what Tom would say, I would say me, just because for a long time we cached with one GPS. And he'd be standing there still looking at the GPS half the time when I made the find. And when we cached with like Brian and Linda a lot, all 3 of them would be standing there still looking at the GPS while I was signing us in. So that's the only reason I think he'd say that. Otherwise, I'd agree with Lynn. Some days he's finding more, other days I am.
Yep. Okay. Ready for the second question. As a caching couple, what is your favorite season? And Mary, we'll start with you this time. What do you think Tom will say?
I think it'd be fall or winter. You have less bugs, the underbrush is not as tall, like sometimes when you're going through stuff above your head. it's just, we like that time of year, and like in the winter you can cross frozen lakes and streams and hopefully not fall in.
Have you ever had an experience where you have fallen in?
Yeah, we have out at Bussy Woods doing like the Cash and Release series, where we went to 4 different islands to get coordinates and then cross a big lake heading toward the bonus, and when you get into the area with cattails and that, it doesn't freeze well. So we broke through, but it was only like about a foot or so.
That's good.
So.
All right, and Lynn, what do you think Michael will say?
I'm hoping he says fall. After a hard freeze, when there's no mosquitoes, no ticks, I think that's going to be his answer.
Do you guys notice that you do more in numbers in the fall than any other month or season of the year?
I think that if you looked at our stats, it would probably be March, February or March, only because 3, maybe 4 Februarys we were in Florida, and without a lot to do, you know, nothing to do around the house, and so we cashed a lot. So, but then February or March was kind of like fall here.
Right.
And except there were more ticks down there. But anyway, I think he'll say fall.
Have you ever had a tick experience where you've come home and noticed either many ticks on you or not noticed a tick for several days or weeks later?
I have.
Yeah.
Michael has. In Florida, you get the little seed ticks, the ones that carry Lyme disease. Up here, and one time I had like 6 of them on my stomach area. They look like little caraway seeds, so you almost don't notice them. And we've had the others. The others, though, are so big, the regular wood ticks, that we generally find those before they become embedded.
Yeah, that's scary. Have you ever had an experience like Mary and fallen through the ice or broken through while caching in the winter?
Yeah, Michael and I have both fallen through. He did it at a cache called Pennies for Heaven. Went in past his knee, but chose to continue. And I went in once up to mid-thigh and caching with a big group, and I continued too. You know, your body heat kind of warms you up a little.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, all right, we're going to call the husbands in and see how they respond to your answers and hope that they have the same responses that you do. So we're going to ask the husbands the same questions that we asked the wives and see if their answers match. The first question, who clearly makes the majority of finds while caching? And we'll start with you, Michael. What do you think Lynn answered to that question?
She makes the majority of the finds.
And why do you think that?
Because my eyes, I'm too much of a hurry to find it. My eyes flip, 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 flip. And Lynn is looking at every branch and every twig and is examining it. And I'm going by it and I'm on the other side of the tree or whatever, and then Lynn finds it.
Okay. But
also, in our case, whoever's not carrying the GPS usually finds it.
And who's usually carrying the GPS?
We switch that off. When we're walking, I carry it, but once we get to GZ, we tend to switch it off. But still, Lynn finds the most, I think.
Okay. And Lynn, what was your answer?
My answer was not the same. I said 50-50.
Oh. And why did you say that? Why do you think it's different than his answer?
Because I think this is the correct answer.
I never thought about 50-50. I mean,
Because she said clearly. Yeah.
Either you be you or me. One or the other.
But I think it really is. That's my feeling.
All right, we'll move over to Tom and Mary. Tom, what do you think Mary's response was?
Well, certain times I do better, sometimes she does better, but I think overall Mary finds more than I do.
Mm-hmm. And why do you think she finds more?
She's got a better geosense than I do. I'm standing there watching the GPS and trying to zoom in on GZ, and she's just using her sense and looking around and looking for what would be a good hiding spot, and then boom, she just finds it.
Yeah. And Mary, what was your answer?
Well, based on what I thought he would say, it was.
Yay! All right. So 1 point for Tom and
Yeah,
Mary.
Ron. Oh, you said Mary, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We'll move on to the second question that I asked. And we'll start with Tom and Mary this time. As a cashing couple, what is your favorite season to cash in?
Pick one.
Yeah.
'Cause it seems like fall or winter
Oh,
is, boy, if I have to narrow it down to one of those, I'd say winter.
and why do you think that?
Just because we like to get out a lot, and so during the winter, it's a nice, it's a good excuse to get us out of the house and explore, and there's not a lot of vegetation in the way, and we've found a lot of our caches during the winter.
Yeah. If you looked at your statistics online, would you say that most of them are found in the winter months?
Our statistics are distorted because of doing the ET series,
Oh,
so,
so you've been there. Can you tell me more about that?
you know, we did the ET series twice. The first time we did it was the first ET series, and then we did that late in December. We went out and met Barry and Margie out in Las Vegas, and then we went up and did the ET series.
And the majority of it was spent with Barry going, hurry up!
A lot of pressure on the
Well, there's sunlight. But then after that series went down, and then they decided to do the second invasion, after saying we'd never do it again, Barry kind of threw the challenge out and said, yeah, we should go do it. And I was silly enough to say, sure, let's go do it again. So Barry and I went out to...
And they did it in August, and
Oh my gosh.
wasn't too happy about maybe tarantulas and snakes, so it's like, I didn't have enough vacation, so it's like, okay, go ahead, just don't get bit.
What was the weather like? Was it in the hundreds?
No, it was
Oh,
only in the 90s, but it was still hot. But we did that series, and then we had a little extra time, so then we went south and we did part of the Route 66 series.
That sounds amazing. What states were you in for the Route 66?
It was Arizona, Nevada, and I think a small corner of California.
And I had done a little bit of Route 66 when I flew out to get my daughter and drive back. So as we're driving back, we hit a few in each state.
Yeah, I would really like to do that. It'd be a lot of fun, I think.
It was.
All right, so Mary's answer to the question of as a cashing couple, what is your favorite season was?
Fall or
winter.
winter.
So you got it exactly right.
Got them both right.
Nice job. So 1 point for Tom and Mary for that question. So the score right now is Tom and Mary has 2 points and Geofogie has 0 points. But there's still time to make it up.
Did you answer that question?
I did.
Not yet.
Oh,
we didn't answer
so
the question
we're
yet.
gonna thank you very much. We're gonna go over to Lynn and Michael and ask Michael, as a couple, what is your favorite caching season?
Boy, it's tough because we like it when the leaves are off the trees, which would be late fall. But it's also tough because we've done a lot of winter caching in Florida, which is, you know, one could say winter, but you're not in, there's no winter. I'm gonna say fall.
The fall. And let's see, why do you like the fall the best?
The poison ivy has died back. Lynn is very allergic to poison ivy, and we have to really be careful. There have been a number of caches where we've gotten to ground zero, see the cache after a long hike from someplace, and we say, no, it's not worth the risk. And there have been other times where we brought rubber gloves and rubber bands to tie our pants down and stuff because there was a cache we needed for the lorem or something. We wanted to make sure we didn't have to pass it up. But with the leaves down, the better signal, fewer people in the woods, not as many muggles. It's just much nicer.
Yeah. Have you gotten poison ivy really bad in the past and had to been
I have to go on,
hospitalized or?
I have to go on steroids.
Wow. All right, and Lynn's answer was. Yay! Ding, 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 ding. All right. Geofogies 1, Tom and Mary 2. We're going to start round 3, which will have the wives go into the other room while we ask the husbands the question. Hiking in the woods, who is more likely to trip and fall?
Lynn.
And why is that?
I'm much more sure-footed. You know, when you worry about falling, you stiffen up, and as soon as you stiffen up, it's easier to fall. And I'm very relaxed, and that's why when we're walking through the woods to caches, I always carry the GPS, because Lynn's watching her feet, and she can't really be carrying the GPS and watch her feet at the same time. And not to say that I haven't taken some bad falls, but usually I think I'm much more sure-footed.
Yeah. Any trips to the emergency room or sprains?
No, well, yeah, I took one where I was walking and my foot stopped, and I went pitched straight over the front of my foot, but my foot was still under a branch or under a root, and I really sprained everything, but no emergency room, just took a few weeks.
Good, good, no broken bones. Great. All right, we'll go over to Tom. Tom, what do you think Mary will say when asked the question, when hiking in the woods, who is more likely to trip and fall?
She is.
And why is that?
She's had some issues with her back and her knees and stuff, so she's just really more cautious with walking. And but regardless of that, you know, she'll still have some issues where she'll trip over something or get caught up in some vines and land up falling.
And that never happens to you?
Well, that's happening. It's not frequent.
How about you guys? Have you ever had any emergency room visits due to geocaching?
Yes, we have.
Tell me more about
when we
that.
were doing Tim and Slim out in Bussy, we were hiking, and then Mary stopped and said, she goes, you know what, my pants feel kind of wet, and she went and looked, and it was like real bloody, and we didn't even realize what had happened, but apparently she had tripped prior to that, and apparently she had caught a thorn or something, and it went through the jeans and pierced the vein, and so it bled a lot really quickly, but then it stopped. So she didn't even feel it, and we were hiking, and she noticed that the jeans were wet, so oh my gosh, you know. So then when we got back, we decided we better have it looked at just to make sure. And then they said, they did x-rays and stuff, and they said, well, it looked like it had pierced the vein.
As a couple, what was the name of the first cache that you guys did together?
Where's my bike? In Bussy Woods.
And tell me about the first time you cached, the year and what the cache was like and how you guys
That was in
did.
September 2009. And actually what happened was that we were at a company picnic with Mary's company, and Brian B.D. Smiley is her coworker. We struck up a conversation with him, and I said, oh, are you still doing that thing you're doing? He goes, oh yeah, the geocaching thing. So I said, well, they're already here. He goes, yeah, we're in Bussy, there's a bunch of caches. So we went.
Just a few.
Yeah, so we actually found, it was actually the one that we found there was a tree house or tree top or something. But we weren't registered or anything at the time, so we logged that one in later, but Mary actually found that one. But then when we opened up an account and started going out looking for caches, we were actually looking for a different one, couldn't find it, so we ran over the Bussy and we found the Dude, Where's My Bike one. Then we came back and found the Urban Nano one. But then when I logged him into GC, I kind of logged him in reverse order. So our statistics
Which is going to make it very difficult
reality, yeah.
to hear Mary's answer, to know if it was the one that you DNF'd or the one that you logged before you had your account. But your official answer is...
Dude, Where's My Bike?
All right. Thank you. And now we'll go over to Michael. What do you think Lynn will say is the name of the first cache that you guys did together as a couple?
It's one of two, and I'm not sure, and I can't remember the darn name of it. I'm going to say it's the one at the end of Eden's. It's something like, it's not Suicide Zone, but it was where Eden's was the first stoplight at the end of Eden's, right at Clavey Road here, and it was by Genius Loci. And that was the second cache I ever went for, but I'm thinking the first one, maybe just the kids one, I don't recall. It was all at the same time. I got the thing, we ran out to the woods. Did Lynn go on that first one, or she go on the second one, or maybe the third? Who remembers? I just can't remember the name, but it's right at the end of Eden's, and it's not Suicide. It's something. You know.
Might be Death Curve or something.
Death Trap?
Death Trap.
Death Trap? You want to write that down?
And that was it's one of these things. It was really well done. It was my first cache, the second cache I ever did, but it was a cache. It wasn't just a container. It was manufactured. It was something made specifically
Yep, I think those are good ones to have beginners start with. The creative ones, not too hard, but very creative. It's the newer cachers to want to go out and see more different types of creative hides. Great, thank you. So the last and final question is going to be worth 3 points. It's the bonus question, and then we'll call the ladies in. So the last question I'm going to ask is, if your wife was reincarnated as a cache, what type of hide would she be? If your wife was reincarnated as a cache, what type of hide would she be?
I'm not sure what you mean by type of hide. I mean, you saying like geocaching type? What do you mean? You know, a type of container, or a type of hide meaning like in the woods or by a lake, or I'm not sure what you mean.
I think that you can interpret it any way that you want, and I think that you should interpret it the way that Lynn is going to answer it.
What type of hide?
All right, we are going
I spell clever.
to C-L-E-V-E-R.
All right.
We're going to start with you, Michael. If your wife was reincarnated as a cache, what type of hide would she be?
She'd be a clever hide in the woods.
Very nice. And why do you say that?
Because she is clever and she enjoys caching in the woods.
Yep.
And it was something interesting as opposed to a lamp skirt hide or something boring in a parking lot. Just gotta be. There's a lot more to her than a straightforward hide.
That's nice. I like that. When you guys go caching, do you purposely look for more clever, creative hides? Do you seek those out
Not as much as
specifically?
we should. Right now, we've been doing concentrating on challenges like the Delorme or like the All County or whatever. The caching challenge redo. We've probably got 80-85% of those done. We enjoy the sense of purpose it gives us.
Yeah.
We're not concerned with the numbers anymore. It doesn't matter.
Yep. Well, good luck with that one. That one's hard, but it's fun to work on. All right, we'll move over to you, Tom. If Mary was reincarnated as a cache, what type of hide would she be?
She'd be a puzzle cache in the woods. Well, mainly because she likes hiking in the woods and enjoying nature. Definitely we enjoy wooded caches more than just urban ones. But the puzzle type because she is somewhat creative and she likes doing creative things with caches.
Who hides the majority of your caches that you own, or who creates them or comes up with them?
Well,
Is it Mary?
She does most of it. Sometimes I'll come up with some idea or some concept, and then she runs with it and does it. I'll help to build a container if it's unique or different, but she does all the web page works, and she does pretty much most of the work on them.
When you said your answer is a puzzle cache in the woods, is that because Mary's a challenge or like a puzzle and you need to try and figure her out?
Oh, there's
So doesn't your answer have anything to do with that in addition?
I don't think my answer is ever going to be, because she's not going to come up with the word clever because, that's not a type of cache. So but I know it would be an interesting cache in the woods. I don't know if clever is the right word.
Okay.
But it's not a cache type as you're saying puzzle.
Right.
Maybe I should have said traditional, but in the woods.
All right, I think that's the last question. We'll go ahead and call the ladies back into the room.
Okay.
Wives. I asked the husbands 3 questions and they recorded their answers, and now we're going to ask you those same questions. The first question I'm going to ask Lynn, and we asked Michael, when hiking in the woods, who is more likely to trip and fall, you or Michael?
No doubt about it. It's me.
Yeah.
I mean, I call them mudslides. Only they're not the TGIF kind of mudslide. Yeah, and it doesn't have to be mud. I mean, I'm looking at something. That's why I don't tend to carry the GPS when we're walking in the woods, because I need to watch my feet.
Have you ever had a really bad trip and fall?
Yeah, several times. And I had a few injuries.
The funniest one was flat on her back in the mud.
I had mud all over
That
me.
cache, it was an abandoned boat along the river by the cemetery off Irving or something. I can't remember quite where it was. On the east side of the river. We're back there and the river must have been flooded previously and it was just all mud.
Yeah.
Whoop.
And then what do you do at that point? Do you continue on?
Oh yeah,
Just all
yeah, it's just mud.
muddy and trudge through it?
Yeah.
All right. So Michael, what did you think Lynn was going to say when asked the question? Who trips and falls most? Nice. Nice. Good job. All right, we'll move over to Tom and Mary. Mary, when we asked Tom the question, when hiking in the woods, which one of you is more likely to trip and fall?
Have to be me,
Yes.
because I had a balance problem when my back was out and I'm always falling.
How about you? Did you have any bad spills or tumbles?
One, I just tripped over dead branches and it was like, kind of fell and hit on my left side. And it's like, okay, and we went on hiking and pretty soon I felt something kind of wet and sticky, and when I looked down I had blood from my knee to my ankle.
Oh my
I was
gosh.
like, I think we have a problem. And I punctured a vein. So it just bled like crazy for a couple of seconds and then it sealed up.
Wow, you're lucky. All right, Tom, what was your answer? What did you think Mary was going to respond?
All right.
Nice. Good job. And Tom actually told us that same exact story, so that was funny that you guys shared the same
Yeah,
story.
that was Good Friday, so we got to go to the 24-hour treatment. And
Yeah, never a good day when you go to the emergency room. All right, right now the score is Geofogies 2 and Tom and Mary have 3. The next question that I asked the gentleman while you were out of the room was, what was the name of the first cache that you guys ever did together as a couple? And I'm going to start with Tom and Mary. Mary, what do you think Tom wrote down as the name of the first cache that you guys did together?
well, if it's official, what we officially recorded, it'd be one of Bat's that, I think it was just another urban micro, to those who serve. Unofficially, we found one with Brian, my coworker, before we really started caching, but we didn't log that one until much later.
Because you didn't have a geocaching account?
Yeah, so we waited and we refound it later. So I would think it's the one to those who serve.
To those who serve. And Tom, what was your answer?
Nope, it was, dude, where's my bike?
Is that right?
That's the
Or
one we-
Well,
Go ahead.
that's what we officially found first, but that's not how Tom logged it. Because we went to find To Those Who Serve and couldn't find it. Went back and found Dude, Where's My Bike? And then came back and found it, but he logged To Those Who Serve as our first find.
Is that the one embedded in the tree?
Yeah.
have you guys done that one?
I don't remember.
You don't remember, but you know it's.
It was just on, somebody was just talking about it on Facebook.
Oh.
Yeah,
That's sweet.
it's an evergreen, but it's hard to spot.
And that one's in Bussy, huh?
No, it's corner of
Wellington
and
and
Bysterfield,
Lycus.
little memorial park.
Oh, okay.
Wellington, Bysterfield.
All right, Lynn, how do you think Michael answered the question, what was the name of the first cache that you guys did together?
This is tricky because Michael doesn't know cache names.
Yes, we've learned that.
So I think the first one that we did together was a Bluesman cache, a multi in the Glen on the Naval Air Base, and I think it was called something like Naval Air. See, I don't know the name either. The one whose name he'd remember, which was probably done maybe the next day or whatever, was Death Trap by Genius Loci. And so he'll know the name for that one. I don't know that he'll know the name of the one at the Naval Air Station. So if a name is necessary, I'm going to say Death Trap. That's my final answer.
Okay, we helped him with the name because he couldn't remember the name. So and we were gonna say that the name was not necessary, that only the location and like who hit it or where it was or the day
Does
or
that
whatever.
mean I can revise my answer?
So you can revise your answer if you want to answer the name of the
still
first
not the
cache
right
you guys
answer.
did together.
He might have said the one in Chippewa Woods, but
So that was the third one, huh?
well, we did find that together. He found that one with the kids because I was cooking Christmas dinner or something, and he dragged me back there a month later because he said, we logged it, but you didn't find it, so we can't
that's
ever find a
nice.
cache that we haven't both actually found.
That's great.
So we went back.
I like that.
But I'm going to say but since we didn't both find that together as the first one, I'll go with the Naval Air Station one.
Okay. Final answer?
Final answer.
He said.
Oh, you said They didn't help me with that. See, I wouldn't have changed it except that you said you helped him with the name.
Remember that?
Seriously.
You had the answer.
I had the
Don't feel
answer.
bad, we both.
You see, now this is a little bit of misleading by the host.
Well, yeah, it was
She
so
hadn't
long
said
ago
that.
that that's a really hard question. You guys have done thousands and thousands of caches. And then to figure out what the official cache you did, or the first one you logged, or the first one you found together, or what if you DNF'd it? Is it as a find? So it's a really tricky question.
Okay. Well, I feel in my heart of hearts, I had the right answer. Even though
You said it was your final answer and then you changed it.
well, because she said they helped you with the name.
Yeah,
We
he said
did.
the location and you had to find it, you just couldn't remember the name of it.
I think the fix is in.
Yes, I think so.
So did you guys actually find one on Glenview Air Base before
Before Death Trap?
I don't remember.
Yeah, it was a multi, like by Bluesman. It was like a 3-part multi. We
Oh,
went
your
on
first cache
Christmas-
was a multi-cache?
Well, that one in Chippewa Woods, he went out to with the kids. There weren't a lot of caches back then. It was Christmas Day, and we went out and we walked. It was a long walk with the kids. One part was under the bridge. Anyway, then the
Oh, I
next
remember in
day
that
or
park,
so, we found
yes.
the Death Trap.
Okay, we didn't know there were
Yeah.
dog tags attached to the post of
Yeah.
the bridge.
No,
That's
right.
hard for new
As a
people.
newbie, how
Yeah.
would you know?
You had to
that?
walk
It
up
was
to
like,
that high
wow.
point in the park
Yeah,
to get it. I remember it now. And the
That-
snow
that-
was,
that cache has been archived. Death Trap has not been archived.
Tom and Mary, have you done Death Trap?
No, that's not one we've done.
That's
Oh,
that's
wait,
around here in
let's
this
do it.
area, right?
It's very close.
You might
to
wanna
us.
do it on the way
Yeah,
home.
sounds good.
All right, last question. This is the bonus question. This is the last question of the game, and this question is worth 3 points. Right now, the score is Geofogies 2 and Tom and Mary 1. If whoever gets the correct answer for this game or this question will receive 3 points added to their score. The last question and this is the bonus round. We asked Michael, if your wife was reincarnated as a cache, what type of hide would she be?
Oh my God.
That's why it's worth 3 points. It's a hard one.
What kind
I asked for guidance, they wouldn't give me it.
She's your wife. We can't
No, I'm saying as far
guide
as-
you on
far
that
as-
answer.
What kind of answer they're looking for, then you understand the question.
what kind of cache would I be? I would be an ammo box in the woods.
Ammo box in the woods. And why is that?
Because we like to find caches in the woods. I like to find caches in the woods, Michael does too. So I'm thinking he might have said the same thing, and ammo box is the old traditional, wow, an ammo box. And
Yes,
so I'm going to say that.
celebratory, congratulations, special milestone,
Yeah,
special
yeah.
cash. All right, and Michael, what was your answer?
Shouldn't they answer first? Then we can.
Oh, do you want to? Okay.
Might get guidance from them.
Okay, let's do that. Yeah, we'll build up the anticipation. All right, Mary, when you asked Tom if your wife was reincarnated as a cache, what type of hide would she be? What do you think Tom answered?
Well, I'd hope the same as Lynn, because I love the woods, and an ammo can in the woods is your, as she said, traditional find and special ones and that, so I would think that.
All right, I like that answer. I like the way you guys answered that question. That was great. All right, do you guys want to flip them over at the same time? Puzzle in the woods and
my answer was clever in the woods.
There's a puzzle in the woods.
And why did you say clever, Michael?
Because we'd like to make things more interesting. I mean, Lynn is really smart, and if you can make the hide, even if it's an ammo box, if you can put it someplace a little out of the ordinary or camo it a little better, it'd just be something clever.
Yep.
But definitely in the woods.
And you chose a puzzle in the woods
much
because
better. I like the woods, and yes, ammo cans are sort of the best container. But it was mostly because she's very creative and likes to come up with a couple of creative puzzles that she's done, and
That was more as a challenge to other people, though.
right. Well, I think you guys both said in the woods, and your spouses answered in the woods. So I'll give you half of the 3-point bonus. So
It doesn't change the outcome.
you
We
get
lost.
each 1.5 points for that. So the final score is Geofogies with 3.5 points, and Tom and Mary with 4.5 points. So congratulations
to
Yeah,
to Tom and Mary.
congratulations. You obviously know each other.
I hope the second place prize is as good as the first.